Hi everyone, this is my August 2022 stats for our solar PV, Tesla Powerwall 2, myenergi zappi, eddi, Renault Zoe, Tesla Model 3 and so on. So costs, usage, stats, all those sort of things. So stay tuned, plus some updates on problems with the cars. Hi, John here and welcome. If you're new here, then all my components are listed down in the description down below, as well as currently on screen you've got a schematic of our setup as it stands. This was last updated in May of this year, so it is up to date. So first thing to tell you, a bit of an accident with the Tesla, not our fault, I hasten to add. A narrow country lane where a driver coming the other way decided they wanted our side of the road and then took our wing mirror out, folded it back, cracked the mirror. As you can see, superficially it looks okay until you start removing the cap. You can see there's some actually broken clips on the base section of the mirror housing, and also on the skull cap itself it's got broken retaining clips. The actual cap still stays on, but I'm not sure of the longevity of that. This is the other person's car, and in the reflection of the window is my wife Jill talking to the lady who caused the accident. She didn't actually stop. The person behind her did stop and turned around and came back to make sure we were okay, and gave us the registration number of the lady's car and said that she was heading in the direction of a garden centre, which we knew very well. This happened up in Sheffield, by the way. Toddled along to the garden centre on the off chance. It's a massive, massive garden centre, a really, really big car park. So I said to Julie, let's start at the far end and work our way back. So we did. We started right at the far end, and yeah, lo and behold, there was the car. The red housing that I'm holding there, that's what I picked up from the road because they didn't bother to stop. So I picked it up as well as our one and reunited them with it and gave them the story. I filled in the Tesla app, which then says, yeah, we can sort that out for you. They give you a list of local places based on your geography. The first one I phoned up at the top there, Warrens, would recommend not using those if you're in the area. From my experience, 1 email, 3 phone calls, no response whatsoever. So yeah, go that one then. Went to Frost's in Milton Keynes, phoned them, sent them an email, response the next day. Total price $374 plus VAT for all the bits. So I've gone ahead with that, and I'm waiting for the lady to pay that. She said she didn't want to go through insurance, so we'll wait and see on that. Thankfully got dash cam footage and a witness, so we're all good. Zoe, that's on 28,000 miles, 282 kilowatt hours in the last trip on trip B of 1,300 miles there, average of 4.73 miles per kilowatt hour. With the Zoe, I also updated the map software and the internal software. That's a bit of a faff. Not that easy to do, but I did manage it in the end. The irony is, once I had updated it, the maps weren't up to date anyway, because the junction we go to, which has been updated, shows updated on Google Earth and on the Tesla map, not so much on the Zoe. And I thought, well, while I'm doing that, I might as well also do the app, because I've never been able to connect my Renault app to the car. So you synchronise it and you go through a process of checking that you've got the authority to do it, as it were. So they check your online account, make sure it's still valid, which ours was. Type in your phone number, which I did at this stage, and then they give you a 10-digit authorization code, which I never actually got with the car. So I contacted Renault support and they gave me the code via email. And I tried it, and every time it failed, basically. It gave me an error message. So I contacted them back, and they gave me an alternative 10-digit code to try. And again, that failed. And eventually, after about 5 or 6 attempts, they said, can we have your details and we'll try it at our end? They said, yeah, Yeah, it's fine, it does all work. This is the password you're supposed to be typing in, and the key thing here is if you look at the password, the last three letters, capital D, L, D, it's not an L, it's actually a capital I. And once I put in a capital I, it worked, but obviously a lowercase l and an uppercase I are exactly the same, so I gave them some feedback to suggest that they perhaps need to limit their character map for certain confusing inputs. Anyway, so now it works. So I can see the charge in the app, set charging, scheduled charging, so it's actually really quite useful. Although it does only poll the car every 30 minutes by the look of it, so it's not brilliant, but it's better than not having anything. That also allowed me to pull that into Home Assistant. Previously it was all unavailable, and now I can see the detail in Home Assistant if I want to. I've been doing quite a bit on Home Assistant recently. I'll cover this in another video. But I'm doing loads of temperature and humidity areas. So you can see there, outside humidity 82%. That's just after it rained, and it was very humid. Okay, so let's go and finish off the cars. So for the month, on the Zappi, we're 84% of our charging at home has come from solar, total of 196.16 kilowatt hours of units. So 165, almost 166 of those are green, and 30 from the grid. That'll be off-peak at the cheap rate. Public charging, we did one session with the Tesla, 7 kilowatts added. Pod point down at Rushden Lakes for no costs. So this is the car spreadsheet. So Tesla, total mileage 25,101, so 1,800 miles during the month. Zoe is now on 28,205 and 337 miles in the month. You see I've split the costs there for charging at home between the two cars, £1.24 each respectively, which is picked up from the costs over on the right hand side there. No public charging with the Zoe. With the Tesla we did 13 public charges, all for no costs, adding 390 units. So yeah, another very cheap month for motoring. Hot water, with this is the myenergi zappi, diverting excess solar from the PV to heat our hot water. So over the month we've done 47 units, for the year 336, overall total 1157. You have saved £4.02 for the month. This is on the new rate because we went on to the new rate at the beginning of August. So that's 8.5 pence at off-peak now per kilowatt hour or per unit. Cover more of that in a little bit when we look at the total electricity and gas bills for the month. Onto our wind turbine with Ripple. The next project, Kirk Hill, which I've also signed up for. They gave us an update mid-month, the fact that 4 out of the 8 turbine towers have been manufactured, so that's progressing along nicely. The dashboard also had an update. You can now tie in your Octopus Energy daily consumption into the wind farm consumption on the map using the Octopus Energy API, which is the pink lines there. So that's quite useful to see. You can see the days when we've been sort of effectively off-grid and then the days where we have pulled from the grid, so it's quite a nice comparison. That's the day by day with the amount generated and the cumulative and the costs in a tabular format. This is the same data in graph format, and then this is your running total over the how many months is it now? 6 months. From, well, middle of March. It started 15th of March. Total so far £93.85 savings to date, and hopefully that'll start to grow again as we get into the windier months. Onto the solar side of things, a bit of a sad tale. Right at the end of the month and the first day or two into September, I should really cover this in the September one, but I'll tell you now anyway, because that's the kind of guy I am. Our SolareEdge new array, which was fitted in October 2019, one of the panels, as you can see there, has basically said, no, I'm not doing any more. So I noticed that on the 1st of September, I think it was, and it's difficult to know how long that had been doing that, because you can't backtrack on a daily on that app in that view. You can only look at the total generation rather than a panel by panel view. That's only an on-day view. And I reported that to the solar team, who unfortunately I knew would be raving busy, the people that installed it. And they did pick it up and said they'll speak to SolareEdge support, which they did. And then the next day I noticed, like, oh dear, like everything's gone. Now into watt hours. This is a midday, and it was a good generation day on that day. So I contacted the solar installer again, and they said, oh, actually, sorry, we're going to get back to you. SolareEdge had looked at it and realised that there was voltage leakage. Rather than that cause potential problem across the rest of the equipment, they turned off the inverter remotely, which is why it's all gone like that. So we're waiting for a new optimizer, and once they've got that, they'll come out and fit it. Are optimizers a good thing, and how reliable are they? Has anybody else had similar problems with SolareEdge optimizers in terms of their durability and longevity? So let me know in the comments down below. I'd be interested to know. We've also had our FIT payment through for the last quarter, quarter three. So that came in at £965.26, which brings us to a total of £2,112.29 for the year. Probably another £400 on top of that, so it'll be a good year this year for FIT payments, which is just as well compared to the increase in energy costs. This is the graph showing the quarterly payments over the years since 2012. You can see there, the circled up at the top right hand corner, the third quarter payment was really good. In fact, it's the best quarter payment we've had, so that'll give you some indication how good August was. And just to sort of cement that, I've never seen this before on our solar array. So Wednesday the 10th of August, perfect curve. On the 11th, perfect curve. 12th, perfect curve almost, just a little nip in the afternoon. And then 13th, perfect curve, 4 days in a row with perfect generation. So let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. That all equated to a total of 845 for the month, 845 units, which, as you can see there, is very, very good for August. Considerably higher than any other August that we've had. 20 even better than the key months of May, June and July. So yeah, really impressed with that. I'm sure everyone else had similar good outputs, well, hopefully, depending where you are in the country. And this is the split between the two arrays, so 527 versus 318. You can see there hasn't had a hit yet on that panel, but September's readings are going to be very different. And we look at those stats. Hopefully I'm not going to be offline for too long with that dead panel. Oh, dead array now rather than dead panel. This is the self-power across solar and Tesla Powerwall for our home self-power. 93% self-power, split between 58 and 35. Quite interesting actually, even though we had more solar, the solar percentages are 2% less than July. This is our solar start and solar end times. These are fairly new charts, the last 3 or 4 months that I've been showing. So this chart is the solar start and solar end times of day for August. The bottom in blue are the start times, and you can see those creeping up. The 25th sticks it out as a bit of an outlier at 9:50 for the start of the solar day, so that was a bit of a grey day. And you can see the trend line there, the dotted trend line at the bottom, slowly creeping to later in the morning. And conversely at the top there, this is the end of the solar day, again around about the same sort of time, 10 to 8, but again creeping earlier and earlier into the evening. This is the other chart that I show you which is peak generation and the time of day when that peak generation occurred. Again, some really good consistent peak generation there over the course of the month for 6 kilowatt. A couple of dead days there on the 17th and the 25th, less so on the 24th. But interesting to look at the times of day as well. On the 25th, where we had 1.4 or 1400, it was 1840. That came in just at the last knockings. This is our year on year for the month of October, which, as you can see there, is way head and shoulders above everything else at 845. The last 3 years, 2021 and 22, are for both arrays, whereas everything before that is for this single 4 kilowatt array. Powerwall in and out, we had an 88% round efficiency for the month, 332 in, 292 out. Day by day for the month, we can see there we've got really good solar generation there with house usage not outstripping that on quite a few days. So the blue line is house, yellow is solar, and quite often the house production is less than solar, which does mean we did export a bit here and there, shown in orange. There were some days that we were out, or we just couldn't use all of the solar, so it was exported. So that's very rare for us to have both cars fully charged and nowhere to dump it, but that was the case. We did import a bit as well, which is the red lines, as solar depreciated. You look around about the 16th, 17th, where we had poor solar days, one after the other, and we needed to run the kiln or charge the car. So there's some big blocks there. So those totals for the month. So house usage in blue, 863 versus 844, 845 rounded up in solar. This from the Tesla Powerwall app, these stats. Import from the grid, 116 units. Export, 115 units. This is our daily average pull from the house, or house usage and pull from the grid. Blue line is house usage and the red line is grid usage. You can see there a drop down to 28 units a day on average over the course of the month, and grid pull just up slightly by 1 unit at 4 units on average per day. Sent to the grid was 115 units, again for the reasons stated earlier, just couldn't use it. So it's unusual for us to send that much back. Normally we suck most of it up locally. And then from the grid, 116 units, which is certainly a lot lower than last August, which is good to see, and the August before that, and indeed the August before that. So happy with that. This is looking at our total bill for the month then for our gas and electric. This is the rate that we're on. So this is the Go Faster rate. 45 pence or 44.48 pence a day standing charge. That came into effect on the 5th of August of this year and runs till the 5th of August next year. So we have the peak rate between 5:30 in the morning and 12:30 the following day at 34 pence, 35 pence a unit, and then our off peak is 8.25 pence a unit. A lot of people ask me why I didn't go for the intelligent tariff. I did look at that and it didn't work out any better for us, to be honest, because the cheap rate was slightly less. The day rate was more expensive for us in our area. So it did actually work out more expensive. So we're stuck with Go Faster. Gas, we're on the flexible Octopus tariff, 7.28 a unit for gas. And again, standing charge there at 27 pence. So this is our electric bill for 5th of August through to the 4th of September, which works out at £30.30 there in total. You see the breakdown between the 2 unit rates. So most of it, 133 units at 7.86 pence, working out £10.49 pence. And then just 16 units and the more expensive day rate of 32.79 pence. Gas bill We're not using gas at the moment, haven't used it for August. Hopefully not going to use it in September as well, but we'll see how that pans out. Still nice at the moment. So we're just paying for the standing charge here, £8.44. So that brings us in, so £8.44 for gas, £30.30 for electricity, less our credits of a campaign reward of 22p, and then our Ripple credit of £13.66 brings us in a bill of £24.86 for the month, which is our spreadsheet here, all broken down. So you can see our historic data as well. If you want to pause that and have a look at it, please do. And the same for gas. And this is a quick snapshot from our Octopus app for the year so far. So yeah, any questions, drop them down in the comments below and I'll pick them up as ever. Do share your stats as well, please, because that's always very useful to see and chat about. And I will see you on the next video. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.